Here's today's In Touch devotion.
Today's scripture reading is 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 10 through 20. Speaking of Hannah. She, greatly distressed, prayed to the Lord and wept bitterly. She made a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant, and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and a razor shall never come on his head. Now it came about, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli was watching her mouth. As for Hannah, she was speaking in her heart, only her lips were moving, but her voice was not heard. So Eli thought she was drunk. Then Eli said to her, How long will you make yourself drunk? Put away your wine from you. But Hannah replied, No, my lord, I am a woman oppressed in spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have poured out my soul before the Lord. Do not consider your maidservant as a worthless woman, for I have spoken until now out of my great concern and provocation. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant your petition that you have asked of him. She said, Let your maidservant find favor in your sight. So the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. Then they arose early in the morning and worshipped before the Lord, and returned again to their house in Ramah. And Elkanah had relations with Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. It came about in due time, after Hannah had conceived, that she gave birth to a son, and she named him Samuel, saying, Because I have asked him of the Lord.
When we're in pain, it can be easy to cut ourselves off from those who care about us most, including the Lord. Yet Hannah, even in her heartache and disappointment over not having a child, continued to turn to God. 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 19 tells us that the day after Hannah wept bitterly before him, the Lord remembered her. She had faith in his goodness and believed he would respond to her request. In her distress, she invited God to meet her in the middle of her pain, and he did. Later, when she delivered her son, Hannah gave him a name born out of both the pain and redemption of her experience, Samuel, meaning God hears. Seeing God's direct answer to her prayer strengthened Hannah's faith as she faithfully fulfilled her promise to give back to God what she desired most, a son. Hannah's example shows us that engaging with God in faith requires open hands, both to receive and to surrender. Whether those of us who are believers receive the object of our desire or not, the promise of God's presence is the greatest gift He gives, and it will never be taken from us. God sees and cares about every tear that falls. Through Hannah's story of supplication and surrender, we find that even tears sown in the anguish of harsh treatment can become seeds of redemption.